This is going to be a review of the Inspiroy ink by Huion. Huion. It's the 320M model, and I'm not a photo retoucher, I'm not a graphic designer, so why did I get this? Well, as a filmmaker, as someone who runs a production company, I don't really have much need for a graphics tablet. Most of what I'm doing with grading panels or the editor keyboard or a mouse. Occasionally, yeah, maybe I do like to have the pen option just so that I'm not keeping my hand in the same position all day, but it's not essential for what I do. The reason I actually got this one was because when we went into lockdown, all of the other equipment that the photo retouchers have and some of the other editors have, all the tablets, went away with them to their homes so that they could continue to work. Now usually if I'm doing my breakdown videos, I would just borrow one of those in the evening and just do what I needed to do. And they're using the really expensive Wacom tablets because there's a real need for them to have the super high quality, super high resolution, the response, all the rest of it that those Wacom tablets give them. So in that respect, bizarrely, I'm used to using some of the best Wacom tablets out there, but I don't really have a very sophisticated requirement for what I am getting out of this thing. So because of all of that, I didn't need anything that was going to be super expensive. I didn't need anything super big. I didn't need it to have a screen built in or anything like that. I just needed to be able to draw on some videos as I'm talking to do those cinematography breakdowns, as you might have seen if you're subscribed to the channel. So that's why I came to the Inspiroy ink. Truth be told, I was looking at the other Wacom offerings that were at a similar price point to this, but because it's during lockdown and because as soon as lockdown happened, everyone bought the cheap options of Wacom tablets because they wanted to, I don't know, mess around with it or something. It was just completely sold out when I came to actually purchase myself. So I ended up with this because it's fairly cheap, and I figured even if it doesn't work really, really well for all of that retouching stuff or graphic design, it's going to work well enough for what I need it to do. I just need it to be able to point. I need better control than a mouse. Surely it can do that. So let's open up the box and have a look. First of all, it's a fairly nice box. Just going to put it off to the side here. It's a fairly nice box. You know, it's got heft to it. It's nice foam. It smells new, all the rest of that. Inside the box, you get some recycling. Love that. A little bit of card just on top. Now, I have actually already opened this, so the tablet itself I have unwrapped, but that was wrapped up to start with. Just going to put that off to the side for the moment to see what else we get. Within the box, apart from the recycling and the tablet itself, we've got the pen, we've got some extra nibs, we've got some USB adapters, a cleaning cloth, the instructions just there, and also a little holder for the pen as well. Within the package that I bought, I did get this carry case as well. Ooh, ASMR. Listen to that, all crinkly. I honestly can't see myself particularly using this. I don't see that I'm going to be going around a lot with this tablet. Let's open that up, get rid of all of that. And, oh, God. Very plastic. It's got magnets built in. That's nice. It's got orange on the inside, kind of slightly soft felted surface. It's pretty big, actually. I mean, let's just take a look. Yeah, the tablet goes into it just fine. It's not... sometimes I find with this kind of thing that it's always a little bit too small and you've got to fight to get it in, but that's actually pretty nice. If that is a selling point for you, that's cool. It comes with this thing. It looks like just a little laptop case or something. Soft on the inside. It will protect it from scratches and stuff, but it's not really padded. It's just like a kind of plasticky leatherette kind of finish with the little Huion logo just there. And it does, really smell. God. But there it is. That came with it, so bonus, but I'm probably never going to use it. The tablet itself is pretty plasticky. That is one thing that I've noticed when I opened it up. I opted for the red option, which does feel a little bit tacky. It's not like it's a super nice, rich red. It's a little bit cheap looking. It's kind of light red. It looks almost like it's been bleached in the sun a bit. This little holder for the pen, which I'll come back to because it's not really actually big enough for the pen that you get in that box. The buttons, they're all pretty plasticky feeling. All the mold lines and stuff are a little bit rough. It does feel like a cheaper product, but it doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart. It's not like creaking or anything when I move it around. It just feels and looks a little bit cheaper than I'm used to, but then I'm used to the best Wacom tablets and they're completely wasted on me, so maybe this is more suitable for my needs. So that is what the tablet looks like. That's an overview of the general impression of unboxing the thing. On the back, we have a little bonus. The 320M model comes with an extra e-ink display on the back, which you can draw on. So if you get your pen, your little stylus, you can actually draw on that and then just erase it. This wasn't anything that particularly swayed my decision. It's not like you're going to do anything particularly amazing with that, but it is a nice little bonus feature. I can see maybe I might sketch down a lighting diagram or something for someone, or doodle an idea, but I don't really see me taking it out and using it for anything. My children actually get more use out of it than me at the moment. They just pop in when I'm not in here and just doodle down ridiculous little things and rude messages and stuff, and that is kind of fun for them. And if you have children, I'm sure they'll love it, but definitely not anything that swayed my decision on it. It's just a little bonus. Now the pen itself feels a little bit lighter than the Wacom offerings. It's actually quite nice in my hand. It's not tiny, it's got a rubberized grip just there. It's got a little bit of shaping to it, just for a styling point, I guess. The buttons are okay, they're fairly responsive. They feel a little bit plasticky, and maybe the position isn't quite as nice as I would like for what I'm doing, but it works just fine. Like I say, it does come with removable tips, so you can put different tips in and you can replace them when they start to wear down, so that's good. Having the little stand there is nice. You know, it will sit in a variety of different stances depending on what you want to do with that. And then in the bottom of that, you've also got the tool to help you remove your nib if you get to that point or you need to change it out. These are all of the extra nibs, and on the packet it says gift. That is their gift to you. Let's have a listen to those rattling around. Don't know why, but this has turned into just a video where I've got lots of crazy little sounds. Cleaning cloth. I always like a good microfiber cloth. As a glasses wearer, I do enjoy just having these dotted around everywhere. So that's brilliant. It's pretty small, but bonus microfiber cloth, great. And then these adapters, just allowing you to take to USB-C or micro USB, depending on what you're using it for. I'm not going to need those, but they're there if that's relevant for you. So what's my opinion on this thing? Well, plugging it into the Mac, it just works straight away. I was able to draw, I was able to do all the things that I need to do with it just fine. Where I ran into some trouble is actually when I installed the software. It was actually quite difficult to get the software working. Now, whenever I installed it, and I did a number of different installs, did some updates, erased it, tried it again, whenever I installed it, it actually stopped the tablet from functioning at all. So I was able to use the tablet just as like a mouse pointer, and that worked just fine, but I couldn't use any of the buttons. So I discovered after a bit of Googling and just messing around that because the tablet needs access to certain critical things to function, within the version of macOS that I'm using, all of that needs to be okayed within your security preferences. And if you don't okay it, then the tablet won't function. Ironically, the tablet will function just as a simple device without any of the buttons, just with the stylus and the tablet itself to draw, but you can't access any of the deeper functionality of the tablet unless you allow that. And that only comes into play when you've actually installed the software. If you just plug it in, as far as I can tell, without installing the software, it works just fine. Once I've realized that and I've gone through and I've allowed the right security settings, I'm able to map the functionality that I want to all of the different buttons on the tablet, and it seems to be functioning just fine. Now what I'm using it for is marking up images of scenes from films as I'm talking about them. So what I've done with that is have it set so that I can select the pen to draw over the top of it, change the color, change it to an arrow, change it to a straight line, erase, and then undo various different strokes as I'm going. So having that function there rather than having to do it with keystrokes on a keyboard is really nice. I've also mapped one of the functions just to turn it on and off to the little button just there, and that was really easy to do. Once I got over that initial bump of the security setting debacle, then it actually worked really well and it was easy to change any of the settings that I needed. Now, I'm not going to be using this for work which requires lots of fine detail, and I appreciate that a lot of people who are looking at a tablet like this will be using it for either photo retouching, graphic design, doing actual digital art on. I am not the person to talk about whether this tablet is going to be the best option for that, because I don't do those things. But I will say that it seems to function just fine. The accuracy seems to be fine as well. I'm not really getting any issues with it not recognizing where I'm pressing, and from a usability standpoint, once I had it set up, it wasn't any different from the Wacoms. It works just fine, and if you are on a budget, then you're going to be able to use this for sure to do what you need to do. Once you get to a point where you're doing much more involved work with it, and it's much more complicated, and you need more finesse, or you need a greater resolution with what you're doing, then perhaps you do need to look at different tablets, more expensive tablets. But remember, this is cheap. This is super cheap. There are other Wacom tablets which sit at a similar price point. I suppose from my experience of getting into ecosystems, if you get into a certain ecosystem, you are likely to either stick with it or at some point have a slightly bumpy transition to a different ecosystem because you should have bought into the more popular one to start with. And that's always a concern when you're buying cameras, when you're buying computers, when you're buying phones. If you buy into Apple, then you're pretty much committing yourself to Apple with all the apps that you buy, with the way that you learn to use it, until you jump ship and you go to something else. And at that point, you've got a learning curve to get into that new system, and you've also got some outlay because all of the accessories that you've got or all of the apps that you've got don't work in the same way with that new product. So I suppose what I'm saying is really think about how you're going to be using this and where you see yourself progressing to. It might be that you're actually thinking maybe you stick within their ecosystem because they do make some higher end tablets. So you do have the option with this company of, for much less money, getting a tablet which is similar to a very expensive Wacom with a screen built in and all the rest of it, and that's at a lower price point. There are plenty of artists out there who are on YouTube who are making reviews about these, but equally a lot of people are being sent these because they do a little bit of influencing on the side, and Huion are good at getting in touch with these people and saying, we would like you to do a review of our product, and we would like you to then share that with your followers, push it out and try and get people to buy the product, and we will give you product for free if you do this. Now in that situation, the person who's doing the review is not perhaps a completely trustworthy source. Even if they are trying to be impartial, they have been given the product to do the review. Whenever I'm given a product, I try to make it clear that I'll give an overview of it and I'll give my opinions on how it functions as a tool for what I'm doing, but I'll make it clear that I have affiliate links with that brand. Here, I've got no affiliate links. It's a very cheap product. We're using super expensive stuff generally, and for me it's just a tool to get over the problem of not being able to sketch on images whilst I'm chatting about cinematography things. So I am not looking at this to try and get some kind of influencer deal with Huion, but it is interesting to see how they're actually operating on social media, on Instagram, on YouTube, contacting people, and a lot of YouTubers are talking about it because they are being given the product. Now that means that you're going to see lots of other people talking about this out there. You're going to see people talking about other products from the same company. They do seem to function fine. I haven't encountered any issues myself. It does feel cheaper. It is not as nicely made, but then I'm comparing it to a product which is perhaps 10 times as expensive. So of course it is going to have those drawbacks. Most important thing for me is I was able to get hold of one. It was relatively cheap. It comes with a load of extras, which is nice. The packaging is good. The product itself functions just fine. There's no issues that I've had. The only thing I would say is that it isn't entirely obvious at the outset when you're setting this up that you need to go through all of those steps of the security preferences, and perhaps that could be something that was better documented by the company, and maybe they should have something about it when you plug it in. Maybe there should be some pop-up windows. I didn't get any when I was setting it up. Maybe they do pop up, maybe that's just my system. And I reckon that if someone's getting this for the first time and they're excited to set it up, they might just skim through stuff and find themselves really frustrated when they can't actually just start using it. So it would be worth looking into that if you are thinking about getting this product and just making sure that you've got it all set up correctly. So that's been my quick overview of this really cheap graphics tablet. Most of the stuff that I review is super expensive. It's camera stuff, so this is completely out of my realm of expertise. What I will be doing once we're out of lockdown is throwing this at the photo retouching team and saying, okay, you guys, you use really nice things. You're used to the best. Have a go with this. See if you can still do what you need to do on it and what the drawbacks are for you. And I might do a follow-up when we're at that point so that you can get their opinion on it, because their opinion will perhaps be more relevant comparing it to other products of a similar ilk. So there we are. That is the Inspiroy Ink by Huion. It's the 320M model with that little e-ink screen on the back. I quite like it. It functions perfectly well for what I need to do. It's cheap, it's cheerful, but it works. The only thing that I have to comment on is this thing just here does not really fit that pen at all. You've got to really force it in, but who cares? It comes with a little stand. That is a minor complaint.